All right. Welcome back to This Podcast Takes Tokens. We left you all off last week with a bit of a icebreaker for the week, like we always do. And we're back to start out by answering our icebreaker, which was, what was your first experience going online? Yes, millennials, as we know, are the first generation to grow up with the internet and without the internet. The internet came into existence whenever most of us were in our adolescence or teen years, and it's a very pivotal moment for our society and our generation as a whole. So I thought it'd be a good question. What was your first experience going on?
Yeah,
Do you remember?
well, I'm pretty sure this is what it is. I've got a couple early memories, but I think it was when I was in maybe fourth grade or something, maybe fifth grade. And we were in the computer lab. They brought us in there. They had all these, Apple computers or whatever up there. And I remember they had us click on Netscape Navigator. Do you remember that browser?
Oh, Netscape, yeah.
And they're like, you got to click the little arrow icon down the bottom right corner, otherwise it won't open, which maybe it was true back then, I don't know, but now it's a complete lie. But anyway, I remember getting on there, and they had us go to, oh, goodness. I thought about it earlier today when I was thinking about it, but now I can't remember. But it was some education website. Actually, I think it was like National Geographic or something like that we went to. And
I can see that.
Yeah, I remember, and we're like, oh my gosh, look at this. Like, it's the internet. Look at, which I would love to go back and see that today to see how dated that looks.
You can. Have you heard of the Wayback Machine? Yeah, there's a website called the Wayback Machine, and you can go on there and visit websites like they were from
really?
Years ago. Like, you can go on there, you can go to Google day one and look at Google what it looked like on the first day, and then roll through it all. And you can kind of interact with them and everything, but it's all just self-contained and archived, so you couldn't Google search with it, obviously, but you could go on there and kind of get an idea of how these websites looked, which is just kind of cool. Yeah. So there you go. If you ever want to go back in time online, it is there. It's called the Wayback Machine.
Oh, check it out.
I've never actually used it myself. I've just heard people talk about it.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah. Do you remember while we're on the topic? Well, no. I'll let you say what you're going to say, and then if you don't hit this topic, then I'll touch on it real fast.
This is probably what it is, but so you were talking about Netscape. You know when the last time I used Netscape was? It was in 2005. The company I was working for, they still had Netscape on all the computers as the browser. It was a Netscape and it was Internet Explorer were the two browsers that they had on there. But Internet Explorer was locked out. You couldn't go online with it. Netscape was the only one you could use because our security team, Netscape was the only one that they could get to lock down because it wasn't being used anymore, so it wasn't being updated as often, and it actually ended up becoming a huge security hole and caused some problems inside the company, and we switched over to Internet Explorer around 2005. But yeah, that was probably the last time I used a Netscape was 2005. Which is funny because it's such a horrible
it's terrible
browser. Even back then, yeah. It's awful. I mean, in 94
Didn't know
it
any
was
different about it.
Yeah, pretty good, I suppose, but yeah. So for me, my first time going online that I can remember, I'm thinking back, and we had a computer in the house around 95, 96. We had a computer, a gateway computer.
Yeah.
Those old gateways, with a Nintendo white color on it, and monitor sits right on top of it. And we had AOL internet on that, but it was the AOL where you pay for the minutes. So I wasn't allowed to use the internet on the computer, but I could go on there and I could play games. So I'd go on there and play games and stuff like that, but I didn't actually go online really until I think one of my first experiences going online was back home. We'd go to the library and you could register time. They had a little sign-up sheet, a little paper sign-up sheet. You go in there, you put your name down on a time slot, and you can use the internet. And I remember me and my friend Adam from next door, or me and you, we'd walk down there and we'd go to the library, we'd sign up for some time slots, and we'd just sit there and aimlessly wander around this primitive internet back in the mid to late 90s. Yeah, and I remember getting my first Yahoo email there and using it for nothing really.
So you could have an email.
I don't even remember what it was. Yeah, I had to have an email, so I had an email. I couldn't tell you what it was today. I could tell you the password. The password was book because I was in a library, and so I was like, okay, I'll make my password something I can remember. It's book. But I don't remember what the email address was, or I'm sure. I think by now they've purged several times over. But yeah, that was. We go on there and we get on like chat rooms and talk and talk to different people about whatever. And very primitive age of the internet. I remember the chat rooms. It was just like a black screen with like colored text, and like everybody would be assigned like a different color in the chat room. That's how few people they could handle. They could only handle like a dozen people in a chat room at a time. That's how just like primitive all this stuff was. But back in the day, that's how it was.
Now, do you remember the sound of the dial-up internet? I mean, I remember like when we moved, when I was living with my mother and my stepdad, and we moved down south away from home. We finally got internet when we moved, and this was 2002, I think, and we had a 14K modem, and we were. Man, things were cooking. And then, like, I think the year I graduated, we ended up getting, like, upgrading to a 56K. And you were like, oh, man, look at this. But I had a buddy
screaming
that lived on the other side of town. And his dad was, like, this big lawyer in town and everything. And they had DSL. And I was like, oh, man, it's so fast. And I remember, like, getting on his computer. I'm like, what sound does it make when you log in? He's like, it doesn't. It doesn't make a sound. We're like, what? It's so wild. But, it's early days of internet, man.
It's crazy that we've witnessed, like, this entire birth and all these different ages of the internet. Now we're at a point where, look at us. We're just having a conversation across the internet and zero issue in higher quality than the TV was broadcast. Then they broadcast the Super Bowl 20, 30 years ago. That's crazy.
I mean, I remember.
That's just crazy.
I remember just another side note. This whole episode is gonna be on internet. But I remember maybe when I was in second grade. So this was kind of like, and the internet was a thing, but it wasn't like in schools or anything yet, But I remember we had our partners in education was the Dr. Pepper bottling company. There used to be one here in town. And we went in there to tour the facility and everything. And I remember they took us to one of the offices. And they're like, hey, we want to show you kids something. Like, okay. And they had a color printer in there. And they printed off a green dinosaur. And we were like, it was still like a dot matrix style printer. But it printed in color, and we were just like, our minds were blown. They let us take that paper back to the classroom, and we had it like stuck up in the classroom. Like, look, this thing prints color.
Yeah, my kids went to a camp, probably like 5 years ago, a summer camp, and it was in one of the schools, and they would go in and they would do various art things and stuff like that. And one of the things they showed the kids and they went over was 3D printing. So they showed them like the software for making up a 3D object, and then like how to put it through a slicer, and then how to send it over to the printer. And so they all each of them came home with this little like half-inch, maybe an inch tall little figure that they printed off there in class. And it just looked so, even at the time I thought, this looks very rough, but I get it. Like, it's a 3D printer. It's putting down plastic and you get this little thing at the end. That's kind of cool. And here we are now today, even just a few years after that, and 3D printers are starting to become fairly commonplace with a lot of people. Like, it's just, I think that's like going to be like one of those next things is like 3D printers or, just fabrication machines in general. Becoming commonplace within your home, which is just crazy to think about, but sure enough, here we are. We live in that age.
Just live through.
But anyways,
all that stuff is just wild to think about. But yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you think about like our grandparents, like at their age, they witnessed the birth of so many technologies throughout their life. That's just crazy. And then like what technologies are we still going to witness in the future? It's just insane to me to think about.
40 years will be broadcasting and talking about like, you remember when we when we were we had to talk through a camera, and now we've got these holograms that we're using to speak to each other.
Everybody gets on our holodeck.
Yes. Anyway.
Well, we'll go back. We'll get back on track and head to our movie topic for the day. We'll see y'all in a minute. Your local video store card.
A comic book in your back pocket.
Games with no tutorials.
Music you had to discover.
And drinking water straight from the hose.
These are the things us millennials remember fondly. We are the Jennings brothers.
Join us after the streetlights come on
as we race our bikes from the top of the hill
right down memory lane.
Exchange those quarters, because this podcast takes tokens.
All right. We're here to talk about our movie for today. Today's movie is quite awesome.
Excellent.
Mega.
Bodacious.
Radical.
That's my extent.
Cowabunga, dude. We're talking about Ninja Turtles 2. I'm with you. I don't think I had anything past that.
Yeah.
Released March 22nd, 1991 on a $25 million budget. Pretty decent for 1991.
I wouldn't have thought
Had
that.
a $20 million opening day and a $78.7 million worldwide gross.
Wow.
Not too shabby. I can see why they went on and did a third one, although I don't think it was quite as good as the first one, but they did.
Oh, this one?
Well, the money that they made.
Oh,
Not
yes.
quite as much as the first one.
Yes.
I think the first one was, they made, I think they passed 100 billion or 100 million or something like that.
$100 billion. Yeah.
100 billion. It was the original Titanic.
Yes.
Yeah. But, so I remember growing up really liking the Ninja Turtle movies and equally liking them all and kind of seeing them all in the same light, if you will. But now upon this rewatch, I feel like there is a distinct difference between the first and the second one. Like the first one was a lot more grounded, gritty, real, seemed to follow a lot more closely with the source materials, whereas the second one, it feels like they were capitalizing more on the PG audience that they had. They were like, okay, let's push it, but not past a PG-13. Like, this is just going to be, we're going to keep it as PG as we can, and as fun as we can, and we're going to keep that 9 to 13-year-old audience thoroughly entertained. But we're not going to try for anything, beyond that. And it feels like they were catering to fans of the cartoon more so this time than fans of maybe the comic book series originally. And it just felt a little childish watching it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as entertaining as the first one, I will admit. This is another one for me that's going to go down as a little regrettable on the rewatch. I just didn't find it to be as fun of a rewatch as the first one. How about you?
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. I actually had a question for you down towards the end of my notes. Is this film better or worse than the original? And I would say it's worse. That's not to say like this isn't a terrible movie. This isn't a Mask situation.
No.
That we had, but it just didn't hit how the first one did. Now, I think it was missing some things, right? So Casey Jones was not in this. They needed Casey Jones. I felt like he was so good in the first one.
Yes.
In the first one, like they had like some real heart to it. Like when, Splinter's been missing and all this. And this one, it's just like, really Raph just walks away. And that's like kind of the only real, I guess, brokenness they get as a group until, they come back and get him. And then I also believe that the actress that played April is different in this one than in the first one.
I had that on my notes. I didn't like her as a recasting. I preferred the original April for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I thought, there was some funny parts in it, but I felt like it was a little bit more childish. Now, saying that, Eastman and Laird, I think, helped write the script for this, so there was still that going for it, but I don't know. I didn't care for it as much as I did the first one. Now, when I was growing up, this was my favorite one of the two.
Yeah, because it had I think it's the humor speaks to that certain age group, like I was talking about. Like the preteen age group is definitely like, that's who they're tapping into with this one. And I don't feel like we got that on the second one, or we didn't. It wasn't like that on the first one. Sorry, the first one was more a one-to-one, not a one-to-one adaptation, but they followed the source material a lot closer. And this one isn't. It's just trying to be a cartoon, live action cartoon, and I didn't like that. Like you said, I didn't really care for the April replacement either. I don't know why they replaced her. I felt like the actress that played her in the first one really nailed the role. I like that approach to it. And there's nothing wrong with the recasting. Like, if she had been cast originally, I wouldn't have batted an eye or thought one way or the other about it. But recasting her seems kind of silly. And it feels like maybe there was like something going on behind the scenes that happened there. Maybe a reason why the original couldn't come back. That being said, there's also the added Toka and Razor. Come out of nowhere. They were made just for the movie. Yeah. And from what I can tell, they wanted Bebop and Rocksteady as the big bads for this one, but they couldn't get Bebop, or they didn't want to do the work to get Bebop and Rocksteady because Bebop and Rocksteady were developed and designed for the cartoon series and the toy line. And so there are multiple people, like Eastman and Laird did the original concept for Bebop and Rocksteady, but then some toy developers got their hands on the characters, and then like the people developing the cartoon series got their hands on the characters. So everybody's just got like a little bit in on it, and so they couldn't quite figure out who the rights belonged to, and they were like, we'll just start over. We'll just introduce these other two characters. Toka and Razor, Eastman and Laird had done some concept art on them already, and so they were like, we're going to go with that. And that works. And it's fine, but I feel like Bebop and Rocksteady would have been way better.
Oh, yeah.
Would have loved to have seen that. Mm-hmm. And Toka and Razor are kind of... they just missed the mark. I didn't find... They weren't really threatening. And they weren't really... They just didn't pose a threat. Didn't feel like a big bad. We did get a good big bad, though, with Super Shredder. That was great, but it was like 5 seconds.
Yes.
And he was over. He destroyed himself.
That was one of my big complaints with this was I didn't feel like there was any real conflict outside of the Turtles fighting the Foot Clan. There wasn't really much fighting with Tokka and Razor, and then like the climax of that is them, sticking fire extinguisher in their mouth, and then they just turn back into regular animals.
Wolf
and then Shredder, like, you see him, and you're like, oh man, this is horrifying.
He's a beast.
And then he doesn't do anything. Like, he knocks all that down. They have no fight with him. There's nothing. And really, in the first movie, they didn't have much of a fight with him. I mean, they fought him a little bit, but he just, cleans the floor with them, and it's Splinter that comes in and cleans house. But, and then I'm thinking, like, after the whole dock fell on him, I'm like, this guy is, like, massive. There's no way, like, this dock falling on him is going to kill him. So, I don't know. It just wasn't as... It wasn't as fun of a watch. Yeah. And I hate to say that. I mean, there's some good things about it. Like, I did think that... I thought Kino was a good character for what he was. I liked him. And I liked that opening scene where he goes down to, like, that, I don't know, mini mall or whatever, and he's trying to stop the guys, and then the Turtles show up. That was a fun little fight. And I liked when Donnie was, like, in the store, and he's pushing that clown. He's like, yeah. And then he pretends, and he's, like, doing the thing back and forth. That was fun, because that reminded me, and I'm like, this is the Turtles. Like, these guys they're teenagers. Like, they are teenagers, and they're gonna have fun with what they're doing. So I don't know. That was some of the stuff I liked about it.
I'm with you. I enjoyed that. I feel like after that, it was all downhill after that scene. That scene was a great opener. I felt great about it. I really liked it. But then, like after that, it went downhill with each progressive scene. I will say though, I liked the lair that they ended up finding, that subterranean, that subway station or whatever. Oh, that was awesome. To
stay there and hang out there. It was great. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I really like that. And it's just got like that stained glass above it, and like the old train car that they turned into like where they're going to like, hang out and sleep or whatever. Yeah. That's pretty awesome. I dig the lair. I really like I was racking my brain trying to remember what the lair looked like in the first one. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it was just like a subway tunnel. I can't remember exactly. But it definitely wasn't whatever this one was. Yeah. But while we're on the subject of the first scene, Ernie Reyes Jr. comes in as the pizza delivery boy. Yep. Kicks some shell. Like, he steals the show for sure. Like, he's got the martial arts moves. He's a lot of fun. He was also in Surf Ninjas.
Surf Ninjas.
The main characters in Surf Ninjas.
Fun one.
It's one we got to put on the list. Yeah. Yeah. And, but I really expected to see more out of him. And I go back through and I look at his IMDb and I'm like, man, he's just like, he's kind of there. He pops up here and there, but I'm really surprised that like we didn't see more of him. We didn't get more out of him, in the down the line. Like I say, I'm a little disappointed. I felt like he could have. He was witty and funny and kind of charming, and he's got the martial arts skills. I'm just kind of surprised that he didn't come up anymore. But I guess like he was probably coming up at a time whenever movies were starting to shift away from the martial arts style movies and going back towards the more 80s action stars and stuff like that in Hollywood. So maybe that played a part in it. I don't know. I would have liked to see him do more. Maybe he doesn't want to act. Maybe he just does other things. I know like the kid from Malcolm in the Middle ended up going off and racing cars because he didn't want to act anymore or whatever. And that's completely fine. That's totally that's totally acceptable, or whatever you want to do with your life, whatever. So maybe that's all it is he just decided to go in a different direction. Maybe he's stunt coordinator. Maybe he prefers doing things like that. I don't know. But I would have liked to see more stuff. I was kind of I enjoyed watching him in this, and I don't know. I don't think he came back for the second or the third one, did he?
I've never watched the third one. I've never seen it.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, we're going to watch the third one.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
We'll see how disappointing the series gets.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the first one and the second one, and I watched, like I said, I watched this one more growing up, but never saw the third one.
Wow.
And I don't know why. Yeah. I bet it's probably because by the time it came out, I was probably done with Turtles. And,
oh, yeah, I can see that.
So just never ended up
watching. I don't know. They all came out pretty back to back, I thought. I thought it was like every year they came out with one. Let's see here. Ninja Turtles 3 came out in 1993. Yeah, it's 2 years.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know why I didn't watch it.
Okay, you got over them pretty quick.
Yeah, I guess.
But, yeah. So, anyways, Ninja Turtles, yeah, fun. You're pretty good cast all around. I say that after we, complained about the replacement of April, but like I said, she didn't do a bad job. It's just not. I didn't see a point in replacing her.
Yeah,
but that's just me. Now, did you know that the person that puppeteered Splinter, is Kevin Clash, the guy that puppeteers Elmo in Sesame Street?
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So, it was a little fun fact I came across that I thought I'd drop on you.
Yeah. I thought that I thought Splinter, of all the puppets and costumes and everything, Splinter looked the best, I thought.
Yeah.
And I think it was that way in the first one too. I mean, the Turtles look great, but they're clearly there's somebody in a costume. I don't know, but. I don't know, I'm kind of contradicting myself, I guess, here a little bit, but I don't know. I thought Splinter looked really good, and anytime he was there, he looked realistic. Like, he didn't look just like he was some, animatronic thing that somebody was controlling or whatever. But I did see in the beginning, I wonder, Jim Henson, it was in memory of Jim Henson, so he must have passed away, like, shortly before this movie came out.
Did he? I don't remember whenever he passed away. Think about it. I thought it was in the more recent times. Oh, no, he died in May 16th, 1990. Wow.
Okay, yeah. So between the second and third one, then. Or, sorry, first and second one.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought he lived like he was still around in like the early 2000s. I guess maybe that's whenever they sold Jim Henson to Disney is what I'm thinking of, perhaps. The Jim Henson Company or whatever.
Oh, I've got a Jim Henson Funko Pop sitting over here.
No. Was
it
like
closer to it
him with the headband and the little microphone and everything?
No, he's got the graying hair and he's holding Kermit.
Ah, okay. That's cute.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I noticed that I went back and I looked at the IMDb and they replaced a couple of the voice actors. Any guess on which one the most notable one is?
Corey Feldman wasn't in this one.
Yeah. Corey Feldman not in this one as, what was he, Donnie in the original one?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think he was Donnie in the original one. But yeah, didn't come back like they had somebody else. I wonder if that was like a he wanted more money type of thing or something.
I'm not going to presume. But I'll presume and say yes, it probably was.
That's what it always comes down to.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, well, it was. I didn't really notice him missing. So I heard the voice and I was like, that's not quite. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the verse. I remember thinking, oh yeah, that's right, he wasn't in the second one, and then I heard the voice and I was like, it's not quite him, but it works.
Yeah. So who was your favorite turtle in this one?
In this
was
one?
Was it different than the first one?
Honestly, they all kind of like, other than the parts where Donnie is working on the formula with the doctor, I didn't really notice a difference between the turtles. Like, they all kind of like, I mean, yeah, there were moments where Raph, like, got a little more aggressive, or Mikey is maybe a little more jokey, and Leo will take the lead on things. But other than that, they weren't as distinctive this time around as they were the first time around, I felt like. They all just kind of, they were all very watered down versions of what they were. And, but I guess probably Donnie, just for that opening scene where he does the little puppeteer thing you were talking about. Other than that, it works.
And that was me.
Same.
Yeah, Donnie was he was my favorite in this one. There was that scene, and then like you said, when he was helping the professor with making the antidote, and it was a Kino that drops the pizza into the little vat that they're mixing with. Yeah, and they're whistling and they're trying just.
Clearly, it had no ill effect because they gave it to him anyways, and it still worked. Which, whenever they did that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we need to find some sort of delivery method for this," and they're like, "You know what? I got an idea." I thought that they were going to say, let's spread it over a pizza and feed them a pizza. And for some reason in my mind, I was remembering that they did that. And then they busted out the donuts, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess they didn't. That's where I would have went with it. Like, the whole opening scene is all of New York in this love affair with pizza. And everybody's got a pizza, and they're eating pizza everywhere.
Oh, man. After watching that, I was like, I want a New York slice of pizza. Like, it looks so good.
Let me tell you, New York pizza is better. Like, something about it. Like, actually having a slice in New York from one of these little pizza places, it's just something in the water. And it's been scientifically proven that there's something in the water that affects the dough, and it makes it taste different in New York. And I don't know. I agree. Like, New York pizza, can't beat it. It's awesome. I'd have it every day if I could. Which clearly the turtles do, because they're cleaning up the apartment and there's pizza boxes stacked everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah.
But they're paying for it, though.
Yeah, that's true. How are they paying? How are they earning money?
I do like that in that opening scene when they do take Kino's pizzas.
Yeah.
But they leave him some money.
That's right.
Yeah.
Where are the turtles making money from?
I'm guessing they're getting it from April. I would assume
she's got an allowance for them.
I would assume so. I don't know. Speaking of April, so there's the scene where you I think it's when you first see her, and she's walking to the apartment, and she's got this. It's very stereotypical. She has this brown sack from the grocery store with a baguette sticking out of it. And you see this stuff in movies all the time. It's like, who is able, like, how is that enough groceries for one person, and why does everybody always have a baguette sticking out? Like, who's eating these?
I guess just as like a snack, you just tear off a piece of bread and have it as a snack, I suppose. I don't know.
I guess.
Have you ever been to those Italian restaurants where they'll like serve the bread and then they have like the little saucer bowl and they'll pour some olive oil in there and freshly grate some pepper and salt on it, and you dip the bread in there? Oh, it's so good. That's really good. It's a good snack. Yeah, it's good.
I've never had that before. No, we don't have anything fancy like that around this neck of the woods.
Yeah, well,
fast food and pizza and Mexican restaurants.
Yeah. Multiple Mexican restaurants.
Yes, we do.
But
would you join the Foot Clan?
I'd like to say no, but I mean, what's their recruiting like? What are they selling me on? Because they're clearly not just walking around. That's what I'm wondering. Do you want to join the Foot and get up to mischief and break the law with us? Or are they like, we'll help you be a better person? Like, what's their sales pitch?
That's what I'm wondering, because I'm watching this, and I'm like, what are the perks of doing this? Because I don't see, like, there's no room for advancement here, because Shredder's, Shredder, you don't get, like, there's no, I'm assuming they don't get paid for what they're doing. Like, there's no, what are the perks? Like, there's no reason to join us. And then, like, Kino says earlier, like, that they're trying to recruit teenagers. Well, when he goes to infiltrate, all the guys with him are like 30.
Yeah.
Like, they got all these 5 o'clock shadows of these beards and, the big buff guys. I'm like, none of these people are teenagers. You cannot convince me that any of these people are teens.
There was that one scene where, I forget what they were doing, where they were, but, it was in the lab, whenever they're fighting in the lab, and the Foot Clan comes up to them in the lab, and they're trying to destroy the last of the samples. And there's that one sample, and it gets tossed over, and the one Foot Clan guy catches it. And he's a chunky guy. And I was like, how is this guy in the Foot Clan? He was like 6 feet tall and probably like 300 pounds. I was like, there is no way this guy is a Foot Clan member. But I don't know. They definitely had like some extras working as the Foot Clan.
Yes.
And
yes, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, every fight scene with the Foot Clan was very gimmicky. It felt like something you'd see in a stage production of the Ninja Turtles. Like, it wasn't real. Like, there wasn't much real fighting to it. And all the punches and kicks and like flying across the room to hit somebody type things, or like running up to them or whatever. They're telegraphing what they're going to do. And I'm like, all you got to do half the time is just step aside with these attacks, and the person's going to go right past you, or the thing they threw at you is going to go right past you. It was just it was kind of bugging me throughout the whole movie how poor these fight scenes were. But yeah, I mean, it's a kid's movie, I suppose, so you got to like let that slide, I guess.
I mean, what bugged me about those scenes was they'd be, like, the foot would be around, like, usually one turtle. The turtles were all split up, and they were fighting their own groups, usually,
Yeah.
And one of the Foot Clan would attack them, and the other ones are standing back there.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of like, they're doing this, and they're, like, taking turns. And I'm like, one time, like, they all jump, I think, on Raph, and then he, like, kind of rolls out, and they're still punching the ground or whatever. But... like, they just attack one-on-one. I'm like, just attack them all at the same time. You're going to overwhelm them by numbers.
Absolutely. I felt the same way. Yeah. Like, just the fighting was very, like, a one-on-one. What are you doing? Like, you're surrounding them. You've got them surrounded. Yep. Just everybody, go in. And clearly the Turtles are not learning their lessons on things, because there was that whole scene where they walk in and they're standing together, and the net comes up around them and picks them up on the ground. And then they meet up later to meet them at the construction yard or whatever. And again, all the turtles are standing back to back, right beside each other. And I'm like, spread out. Because if they do that net thing again, you're going to get caught. Like,
yes. Yep.
But I don't know. I just kind of felt like, it was... I don't think they put much of the $25 million into stunt coordination on this episode, or on this
I think
movie.
most of it had to have gone to, like, the puppetry department.
The puppetry, the costumes.
Costume, yes.
Yeah. And these Ninja Turtles, have got to be the loudest ninjas I've ever heard. Everywhere they go, they're talking loud, they're bumping into things, they're making all kinds of racket and noise. They are not subtle at all.
No.
At all.
You were talking about how they get caught up in the net, right? And Splinter comes in out of nowhere, absolutely nowhere. Splinter shows up with what looks like a child's play bow and shoots the arrow into the rope and knocks it down. And then he just, like, backs up and leaves.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're clearly in distress. You're just going to be like, okay, I'm done. I'm leaving it up to you boys. Like this is
right.
your fight.
I feel like that's something that the later movies got right. Like the even the Michael Bay CGI one and the Mutant Mayhem, the more recent ones. Shredder, or not Shredder, Splinter fights. He'll go in and he'll be part of the fight. Like, he shows off skills. Even in the cartoon series, like, he shows off some skills. I feel like they were limited in the puppeteering on this one, and they didn't want to attempt that at all, just because it'd be too difficult. But, yeah, like, I agree. He's very passive. Like, even the fight with him and Shredder in the first one, all he does is he stands there, whips the nunchucks a little bit, and kind of moves to the side. He outsmarts him more than he outfights him.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I suppose that's a good message, you know, for kids, you know, be smarter, not tougher, but I would have liked to seen him put up a good fight, but I suppose that would have been rather difficult. Yeah. All right, so we got to talk about the ninja rap.
Don't even say it. The best worst scene in cinema.
Yes. Ninja rap. That has been living rent-free in my head since I watched this movie.
Oh my gosh. Like, how did... Okay, if we're looking at this as it's real life, which we're clearly not, but if we are, and these turtles come in with what was the name? Something Razor. I can't remember what the other guy's
Toka and Razor?
Villain's name was. Toga and Razor. They come in to this club and everybody's dancing and, you know, Vanilla Ice is up there. And then, like, Vanilla Ice starts singing or starts rapping this turtle rap. He doesn't even know these are ninjas, but he's just assuming that they're I mean, they've got bandanas on and stuff like that, but they're not really fighting in that point. They're almost like the fight scene that should ensue with Toga and Razor is a dance-off, almost.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like, they're just kind of like, they're hyping. They're hyping.
Yeah, yes.
Do you have more? Sorry, I was going to let you keep going.
No, I'm waiting on you. I thought you were going to say something else.
No.
Leave that in the final.
A nice long pause where we just stare at each other.
Yes.
All right. No, yeah.
People will see that we make mistakes too. So.
That's right. Can't throw too much shade. No. But yeah, Ninja Rap, man, it was a thing. It was a serious thing. Like, that was, I mean, this is Vanilla Ice. That's where the money went. $25 million budget. I bet most of it went to Vanilla Ice just for this. He was like
putting Vanilla Ice in there, and it. Gosh, that had to have been like the selling point for this movie. Like, for the general masses, you should go see this because it is featuring Vanilla Ice.
Right.
Like, I'm dead serious in saying that. Like, featuring Vanilla Ice. I'm sure people went and saw it because he was in the movie.
Because he was in it, yeah. I wonder, like, how... Yep. If his name was even on, like, the poster for the movie. Or, yeah, because I don't remember a whole lot of the advertising at the time for it. But, I don't remember if he was billed on it that heavily. Or if... Yeah, because I can't remember... I can't keep straight the timeline as far as, like, Vanilla Ice, when he came about, when he gained popularity, where he was at his popularity at the time of this movie's release. And you know what? Honestly, I don't want that in my search history, so I'm not going to find out.
Yeah.
Last thing I need is for Google to be suggesting to me a bunch of random Vanilla Ice stuff that I just...
Yes.
I'm good with just leaving in the 90s.
Yeah. Well, it's a mystery, and we're fine with that.
Yeah. But yeah, like, that was that Ninja Rap, man, that was everywhere. That was a big time. I remember being obsessed with it and loving it and thinking it was the greatest thing. And then now I look at it and I'm like, probably not. I can see why. I can see where our parents were like annoyed at the things that we watched and got into.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was watching this. Excuse me, I had a yawn there. I was watching this, and I think that the big takeaway that I had from watching this movie was I felt a little bit embarrassed for watching it.
Yeah, a little bit. Not mask level, but there was definitely like a tinge of it.
Yeah.
And I sat down to watch this movie. My wife had fallen asleep, and it was like 11 o'clock. And I was like, okay, it's like an hour and a half long movie. I can watch it and then go to bed. And I got about halfway through it, and I'm like, I'm falling asleep. This isn't keeping me interested. I'll finish it up later. So I paused it, went to bed, and came back and watched it again later. But yeah, it definitely, like, halfway through it, I was like, I might have enough here. I don't know that I need to finish it.
Yeah. Well, I had to get to the turtle rap.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I was like, I got to at least get to that so I can talk about it. And Super Shredder. Yeah, and then at that point, it's over. We're done.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. It's just, like I said, it's just not a very climactic movie. The first one was. Like, I feel like the first one had a lot of build-up. It had a lot of, had a real conflict that was going on there. Yep. And this one was just like, they're like trying to make an origin story to where the turtles, are trying to figure out like where they come from, and like, is there, it's like they're almost trying to be philosophical with it because Donnie at one point, like, he's disappointed when he finds out it's just like it was basically just a mistake, and he's like, oh, maybe this, he was expecting something bigger. And that was really like, that was it. Like, I don't feel like there was any, like, Shredder wanted his revenge. That was all his purpose was. He just wanted revenge, and that's why he made Toga and Razor, just to be able to fight the turtles. And I don't know, thinking about it now, I'm like, why didn't he just, like, use all of that ooze on himself and become like a super ultra mega shredder,
Can you imagine? Like he just had that little vial?
Yeah.
And he was...
Yes.
He had that little vial, and they had to replace the actor with Kevin Nash to make him big enough.
Are you serious? Or was that
Kevin Nash plays the Super Shredder. You didn't know that?
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Yeah, WWF's WWE superstar. Kevin Nash plays the Super Shredder.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he was. He was also in what is that one? Punisher, with Thomas Jane, back in like 2004, 2005. Yeah, he played that Russian with the striped shirt. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, Kevin Nash played the Super Shredder, which, like, okay, that's a big guy.
Yeah.
You definitely need that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly the suit was like, the muscles were built into the suit. Like, it wasn't like he was, really...
So, like, Shredder takes on this vial of ooze or whatever, and it makes him the Super Shredder. Somehow that also affected his armor and made his armor bigger and more spikes on it and everything, too. Yeah. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought, to me, like, the moment that I knew that I was in for some hijinks, if you will. Some, we'll just call it hijinks. This is going to be a very groan-inducing movie, was whenever they're at the toxic waste spill cleanup with TGRI, and she's interviewing them, and they go around the corner and they discover the gigantic dandelions. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this is going to be like, this is going to be one of those movies. It's overly comedic and everything's going to be a little much. I can see it coming now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have any more thoughts on it?
The one takeaway that was incredibly positive for me was how much I remember loving and still love the Bart Simpson glass that the professor like pours the antidote into. Like, I remember wanting that glass so bad, and now that I'm an adult and have money, I may, like, try to find that on the internet or something. It's just, because that's, like, peak Simpsons, when Simpsons was just, like, at the top of the world at that point.
Simpsons was, like, brand new at that time. 1991, it was, like, they came out, started in, what,
I thought
89?
it came out in, like, 88 or something. Yeah.
Still, that's only a couple of years.
But
I think Simpsons
still, though, I mean, I thought it was,
the
like...
peak in, like, the 90s, like, mid-90s. But, I mean, yeah, like, it's definitely,
Really?
like, it's bursting onto the scene at this point, for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think, well, I don't know, peak Simpsons. I mean, we'll probably have to save this discussion for the Simpsons episode, which is, I don't know how we're going to tackle that. It's such a huge subject.
It's all, like, 50 seasons of it.
I know.
Just had to be a broad conversation.
Right? Yeah, Simpsons started in 89, so yeah, this was just a couple years into it. They're
Okay.
They're getting big. But I mean, yeah, like, this was definitely like, yeah. I think this is the moment the Simpsons, like Vanilla Ice, were exploding onto the scene and were becoming a big thing. I don't think it was peak Simpsons here. I think that comes later. But it's definitely like, it was everywhere. It was steeping deeply into our culture at this point. It was, I'm rambling because I'm also in the back of my head trying to come up with what the modern equivalent to that is, and I'm just not tapped in enough to figure out what the modern equivalent of that is today.
Same. Yeah.
But yeah, it was everywhere. Anyways, Ninja Turtles 2. Yeah, it was it was a fine rewatch. I don't mind that I rewatched it.
Okay.
I don't think I'll rewatch it again. But
no, and that disappoints me a little bit because I didn't spend a lot of money on this, but like I was gonna rent it off of, like, digitally off of Amazon because it used to be on HBO or Max or whatever they want to call it now, but it's not on there anymore. So I was like, I'll just spend $3.99 and rent it. And then I saw, like, the DVD was $4.99, and I'm like, oh, no brainer. Just spend the extra $1 and buy the DVD, and I've got it forever. And then I watched it again, and I'm like,
I have this
maybe I should
forever.
save myself $1. And
Yeah.
no, it wasn't that bad. It just wasn't what I remembered it being,
Yeah.
and that's fine. That's fine. I have the memories of enjoying it as a kid, falling in love with the ninja rap, and that's great. That's fine with me. It doesn't have to be some timeless classic.
Yeah.
I feel like that is more the first one. I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. First one was definitely like, it was gold. It was great. Perfectly well done comic book movie. The second one is a perfectly well done cartoon series adaptation. And that's what it is.
Yep.
And I think that's how we have to look at it. So the third one, I'm interested and curious to see how that one shakes out, because I remember that one goes in like a completely different direction still yet. So we'll find out next year. Which we forgot to mention. Right. I forgot to mention up at the top, this is our 51st episode. Next week will be our 1 year anniversary, I guess, of the show. Like, we started this, a year ago next episode. We don't have anything special planned, but, I did do Ninja Turtles for my pick at this time because we did it for the very first episode was Ninja Turtles. So I thought I'd continue that, and we'll probably do the third one next year around this time. Looking forward to that. Hopefully I'll forget about most of this by then.
Yeah.
So, you want to tee us up for the next one?
I will. So, my icebreaker question for you for next week is, what was the first comic book you remember reading? Ooh,
that's a good one. Okay.
So let us know in the comments what you think about the show. Let us know what you think about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. Was it better or was it worse, in your opinion, than the first one? And what did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? And if you want, let us know what your first time being online was like. Love to read your comments on the air. And we appreciate each and every one of them. Like and subscribe. That helps us out a whole lot. We would appreciate that. And until next time, be kind and rewind.
See you all right.
This Podcast Takes Tokens is a Clay Street production.